the Rupert Murdochs, the Bransons, the Trumps, all those people, they also get stuff that goes wrong too, often humiliatingly in public. They have, husbands or wives who might leave them, daughters who put nude photos up on the internet, their best friend gets cancer. They go through all those same things. Their businesses go up and down. They hurt just as much, but they have ability to get back up quicker.
You're listening to Elevate, the official podcast of Elite Agent for real estate industry sales professionals, property managers and leaders. We are proud to present Courageous Conversations, a podcast series focusing on the tough decisions people have made to put themselves on a pathway to success. This episode is brought to you by Connect Now, who makes the business of moving easier for both you and your clients. For more information, visit connectnow.com.au. Please welcome your host, Leanne Pilkington.
Hey everyone, Leanne Pilkington with you for the latest Courageous Conversation. And with me, I have got Leona Watson. Leona, how are you?
I am pretty good today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm awesome. It's been a long time since you and I connected. You were running and owning the Cheeky Food Group back in the day. Now, I believe you sold that business, 2 weeks before COVID hit?
Well, I got my last payment 2 weeks before COVID hit, but yeah, that was pretty lucky.
Because Cheeky Food Group is, it was about team building, right? Cooking as a team building exercise. So that would have been a challenge to run during COVID.
It was, and it was even a challenge to launch. I mean, this is before, I launched this in 2002. This is before there was Google. Yeah. So imagine the world without realestate.com and domain.com. Just even think about that in Google. There was no Gordon Ramsay and there was no MasterChef when I launched. And so I had 17 great years, but then it was time to let it go.
Time to let it go. So let's just go back to that launch strategy pre-internet almost. How did you actually do it?
Oh, look, I just picked up the phone. It was anyone else today would call it hustling. Back then it was just called pick up the phone and get some work.
Do what you have to do.
Do what you have to do. You got the yellow pages out. I feel like I'm aging myself about 75 years here, like I was, born in World War II. But it was that really was what, industry magazines, inserts in industry magazines. And that was kind of it, but really calling on any contacts, that I had. And
the old networking.
Yep, that's it. Still works. A lot of trade shows, I think.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And so you got out of the business in March of 2020 with the intention of going and living in Bali for a period of time to kind of regroup and recover from all of those years of hard work. COVID put paid to that though. So how did you cope with that sort of emotionally and mentally?
It was a bit, I'll be honest with you, it was a little bit tough at first because I was, okay, I can't just go and gift myself this time off.
Yeah.
So once I had time off, I was stuck at home.
Yeah.
And basically what I ended up doing was just helping a lot of my business friends in the industry with business coaching. I'm quite highly creative, but I'm actually really good with numbers as well. My background was actually customer loyalty programs, a lot of database marketing before I started Cheeky. So, and when everything's good, everything's great. But then when all of a sudden the work wasn't coming in for a lot of, smaller players in the industry, I just got in there and helped them. I sometimes have to make some of those tough decisions. And I did a lot of that for free because I felt so ridiculously grateful that I didn't have my company.
Because you would have had to make massive changes and stand people down and all of that sort of stuff.
Totally. I probably would have closed shop, in all honesty. If I look back, but no, you just sort of keep going. And so then I was always going to look at going into, and I was already doing some speaking, but I was always going to go more into the speaking. I guess the coaching side then started to build a little bit because a lot of businesses were in trouble, and sometimes it was a hug, but with a bit of tough love reality checks on some things that just need to make some big decisions on. And also get really excited about. It's been up and down, up and down, up and down. So I did that during most of that COVID time, and then just been concentrating on the speaking and coaching and facilitating and also some adventure tours. I love a bit of an adventure. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, leadership ones as well. I've just got back from New Zealand, scoping out some great places to take people to get out of the office. And
what a great excuse for a holiday of your own, right? You're scoping it out. You're doing a recce. Hello, I'm all over that. I've been guilty of shopping trips to New York being also combined with doing real estate work as well. So yeah, I'm a master at that myself. So you do a lot of leadership stuff with women as well. What do you notice about the way women sort of present themselves in leadership sort of positions? What do you notice and what's your advice?
Look, I think, the talk at the moment is pretty big. It's all out there over the last couple of years. I think the thing with women is there's a tendency to feel that if they just do more, they're going to be recognised.
Yep.
So if I do that extra project, if I do those extra studies, if I do the MBA, if I do all this, I'll be better than everyone else. And there's a kind of a comparison thing that can go on. And and then be the more empathetic leader, show kindness everywhere. And there's nothing wrong with having a really seriously good, kind heart. Honestly, there isn't. But there are times to dial things up in your personality type, and there are times to dial things down. And it's knowing when.
Okay.
It's knowing when. And if you think, I would guess that, Jacinda Ahern, she seriously knows when to dial it up, especially in front of a camera. But without doubt, she'd be, and I say that with respect for her, but without doubt, she'd be dialing that down when she's got to make some serious decisions.
Right.
And make some tough calls and have those tough conversations. If you think about, your topic, courageous conversations.
Yeah.
If you all you bring to the table is just being kind and wanting to be, empathetic, you're not going to often you end up not being particularly kind to yourself. And leadership starts with self-leadership.
How do you I'm not known for being particularly kind, so it's not a problem that I actually have. But I do know people around me who are incredibly kind and caring. How do you actually know when and how to dial that back when you need to?
I think once you become aware of it and your instincts start to kick in. So the second you kind of go, why am I the only one always back late at night? When was the last time I actually said no to a project? When was the last time I said no to a staff member? Do I even ever say no? And it's okay to say no. People say no all the time. But if you know in your heart that you feel icky and irky, and if you kind of there's that term people pleaser, which I think is a really negative term, but if you turn that around and just say you're someone who loves to please people,
yeah,
that's a fantastic thing. But if it's at the expense of yourself and you hear yourself, at the bar with your girlfriends over a shardy or a Sauv Blanc whinging about how you're the one who's always doing everything, and you hear yourself stuck in that story, there's a good chance it's when you need to do it. Now, that's a hard pill to swallow. Obviously, if I'm doing coaching with someone, we kind of get ourselves there. But once you know it, once you realise it, you can't unrealise it.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's a really powerful way of putting it. When you are having a cheeky shardy with your girlfriends, are you whinging about those sorts of things? And that comment might be enough for someone to go, oh, actually, yeah, let me think a bit more about that. What does that mean?
Yeah. And look, it's the same for men as well. Men can fall into the trap, but I think women are, it's a bit more part of who we are. And again, it has such a beautiful place in society, also at work, but there are definitely times that if you're sacrificing kindness to yourself,
and
you're staying back and you're not looking after your own health and everything to be seen to be doing in order to try and get a leadership role, then there's something out of kilter. And that's definitely time to, okay, how else can I play this one? And it's not being untrue to your values either.
No.
You can still be kind, but you can be kind to yourself first. And you can also, here we are talking about courageous conversations. You need to have that with yourself.
Totally. And that's what this is all about, right? It's not just the conversations you have with others. Sometimes the toughest conversations are the ones that you have with yourself. I know certainly when I went through the process of deciding whether or not to buy into Lang & Simmons, I had some really, really difficult conversations with myself. And sometimes I had them out loud, which is a bit weird, but, whatever works, right?
Well, I did exactly the same when I sold Cheeky.
Yeah.
So I was literally over in Italy on an ocean swimming safari, go figure, but swimming around Cinque Terre. And then I noticed that sales sort of going down, and I was probably on my fourth or fifth Aperol spritz, and I was just like, okay, what do I do? I remember literally turning over my beer coaster and writing out, okay, I can do this. It's just a business model issue. It's not a personal issue. Made a couple of notes. Or the third note was, or I could sell.
Yeah.
Now let that sit. Let it sit for a week. And then I snuck back into Australia a little bit early and grabbed a flip chart, got myself into an Airbnb at the back of Kiama. And I just went through a whole pile of what ifs. As I said, I'm a numbers person. So what if I do this? What if I try and merge with someone? What if I blah, 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 blah. And in the end, I went, no, it definitely is the right thing to sell. And then I worked on me. So then I worked on, am I ready to be the person who's ready to let this baby go?
So you separated the actual financial business decision with your own emotions around selling it.
Totally, because then I could look at both, because there are good decisions for selling and there are good decisions to stay.
Yeah.
And then there are good decisions emotionally to stay and good decisions why I might want to sell. And it was then all about balancing it up. But in looking at the numbers for me, and I've been doing it for 17 years, the same thing. It was ridiculous. It didn't exist when I first started. So I literally created something, and I'm really proud about that.
Yeah.
Stuff some things up monumentally, epic failures, monumental proportions as well. But I sat down and I went, okay, so you are ready to sell. And I had looked at potentially selling about 3 years prior.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about the dips that you have in being in love with your company and when you are so not. Divorce is imminent. And I went, I need to be a different person. So we're just chatting offline. What do I need to have?
Yeah.
So what do I need to do? I need to get all my numbers and dollars and blah, 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 all that kind of. You need to get a proposal and list of people to potentially pay to. Okay, what do I need to have in order to do all of that? Okay, I need to have a really great relationship with my accountant because I'm going to need some really quick turnarounds. I need to have some conversations with other people who solve. I need to have blah, 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 blah. Okay, in order to have all of that and to do all of that, who do I need to be? And I realized I had to be someone who was ready to have someone come in and poke fingers. It would be like having a child and they tell you, gee, they're a bit ugly from the left side, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like that's when it's yours.
Well, you can be very, very defensive, right? About
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And I've coached some people around when they're in that sale place and the BS that you put up.
Yeah.
Which accounts for nothing, but it's just all emotional stuff. And so I knew I got myself really clear on who I needed to be. And I need to be gutsy. I remember I went to our industry Christmas party and I walked up to the editor of the biggest magazine and I told her, and I went, and I was shaking before I did that. And I went, who have I got to be? Who have I got to be? Who have I got to be? I got to be someone who's ready to sell this business and to do it well, to do it quickly, to do it fairly. Boom. That was it. And it just helps you take the emotion out.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. But people forget to talk about what they need to have and who they need to be. They just have a whole big, massive to-do list. That's where the gold is.
And that conversation is so relevant. As you know, a lot of our audience are real estate agents or in the real estate industry. And it is really, who do I need to be a successful agent in the current environment? And that's not just market conditions. That's also with what's going on with technology, with what's going on with consumer expectations. Who do I need to be in that space? So that's a really interesting conversation to think about.
Yeah, it's because if you like, who do you need to be as the owner, as someone just managing, and it's, pretty tricky up and down, a lot of things shaking up your industry at the moment, again. And so who do you need to be to manage that? Manage your staff's concerns, manage your cash flow. Who do I need to be to manage my own well-being?
Yeah. Who
do I need to be? And you kind of got to get, and it's, if you just stay stuck in do, then you're stuck in the story and you just spin. Whereas if you're really clear on who do I need to be, what do I need to have around me to make sure I'm going to be that person and get this stuff done, life's a lot easier. Yeah, really interesting. You made reference then to what happens when you fall out of love with your business. And I think in real estate, yes, we have had a property boom. However, having a property boom during COVID when you've got
everything else going on at the same time, difficulties with properties under management and your tenants and your landlords, and so much stress in a couple of years. And now we've come out of that and bang, we've got a new government, we've got interest rates going through the roof, we've got inflation going through the roof. There are plenty of agents out there going, you know what, why? Why am I doing this? I just don't love this anymore. What would be your advice?
Oh,
don't tell them all to sell it though.
Yeah, don't sell. Do you know what? Like, it's not unusual, any business, any time, you know, whether it's an Uber that comes in and disrupts you, or you just bloody over it, you know. You do fall in and out of love with your business. And, you know, it's a bit like, you know, you wake up and you look at your partner who you've been sleeping with for 17 years and you look at them and you go, what are you doing here? They go, what am I still doing here? And you kind of go, I don't love you anymore. What's going on, you know? And then you sort of sit with it for a little bit and you huff and you puff and everything. And then all of a sudden one thing can happen and you fall back in love.
Right.
Things can change in a millisecond. And again, it's about I think it's really about getting back in touch with your why.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, this morning, Leanne, honestly, I found this article that I wrote 2 years ago to my former self, like before I would have started Cheeky. So it's sort of a little bit like, you know, your endless enthusiasm will attract fantastic clients and stuff. It'll also annoy the bejeepers out of your staff. So like just a whole pile of different points. One of the ones that was in there was around, I just kept getting the reaffirmations of why I had the business that I did and why I was successful at it and why I had the energy to be doing 2-3 events a day sometimes myself, lugging around big boxes. Like, it was full on. It was, you know, sometimes I'd be standing up for 21 hours and sometimes I'd just get over it. But you just need to take a bit of a moment, really get really clear on why you're doing it, like why it's, and for some people that'll be different. So for some it'll be, this is creating a great future for my family. This is creating a legacy for my kids who might be in the business. This is helping people find that home where they'll have their stories and they'll have their Christmas days and they'll like, so whatever it is that just soothes your nervous system a little bit.
Yeah.
Write it on your wall and relook at it every now and again. And seriously, if you are in that real point where you are thinking of selling, you know, a bit like before you ditch a relationship or something like, you know, something really serious like a marriage, go away for a little sec. You know, like, give yourself a break. Of course you're going to be in this space. And so the emotional roller coaster of an entrepreneur and a business owner is, there's no other way about it. It's like the seasons. You're going to be up and you're going to be down. So when you're up, so when you have those glory years, like, you know, you guys kind of had last year, whilst there was the stress of managing a lot of people for, you know, not paying, there was also some good money coming in. Lock that vibe in, lock that feeling in, celebrate hard. Because if you celebrate hard, then it becomes a magnet. People want to be the people who create that celebration. And sometimes when things are going good, you just keep, oh, it's another sale, it's another sale, it's another sale. And all of a sudden the buzz of it goes. So when you, like, I used to get a bottle of champagne out at 9:15 in the morning if we sold should have come and worked at my place. If we sold something great. And then we only have like one glass or whatever, but it just meant that people then got kind of that deliciously addicted to the feeling of what a good sale can be. And you then just transfer that good feeling to something else. So it could be creating a different process. It could be doing a great brainstorm with the gang. It could be doing a stop, start, keep process with your team. What should we stop doing, start doing, keep doing? And then you ask the why. Why should we keep doing that? Oh, we're really good at that. Let's do some more of that. Let's focus on that over the next 6 months, or it's going to be a bit tougher. So you just got to look at things a little bit differently. But as a business owner, 100% get back in touch with your why. Be really clear on what that is. And you know, there's a couple of processes that you can do around that from a coaching point of view, that anyone can do on their own.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because I'm really guilty of moving on. I expect things to go well. And so when we have something that goes really well as a team, I'm more focused on, okay, what else could we have done What, I know it was really good. Yep, that's awesome. Well done, team. Yay. But what could we have done better? Where were the bits that went wrong, even if nobody else saw it? And so I'm really guilty of that. My team, if they're watching this, will be laughing their heads off going, yes, she is.
Can I tell you, I was also guilty, very guilty of that when I was probably in my bolshiest phase.
Yeah.
And, but I had a team building company, as it was team building, cooking events. So I did learn, though, to just stop. But sometimes I could then criticize later and do not so much criticize, what could we have done better? It's like, you know what, 80% is good enough when it's good enough and it's done. And our little perfectionist little things just need to take a little rest, go and have a drink under a tree and just sit out.
You mentioned earlier that you had a few epic fails when you were building the business. And I've just got this little thing about failure. You need to reframe it, right? You need to shift your mind, because no one ever gets great success without having some failures and issues along the way. It's just all about how you look at those failures and what you do next. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, look, I think there's a bit of a thing at the moment where it's so good to fail. Quite frankly, no. You're going to have fail. I don't get it. I don't get it in the media. Sure, people have failures, but let's not put it on a pedestal.
Yeah.
You want more. Otherwise, that becomes just okay to fail, which means you kind of didn't try hard enough, or try the next time. So I kind of, failure is all part of it.
Yeah.
It's not something to aspire to. So, and I think.
No, absolutely not. But it's something to learn from, right? You've got to get curious about it.
Totally. So I had a few epic ones as a leader and as a manager that hurt me badly in terms of the business, and that I nearly lost the business, at one point where as a leader, I did not step up. I didn't manage a situation. I wasn't the leader they all signed on to be with. And, I still get, I'm not stuck in it, but I can feel myself even now just going, oh, I just so wish I did that better. But you got to kind of give yourself a little bit of a break. And if you have learned, the hardest thing is that when as business owners, we're stuck in that loop of, if things are going wrong, often there's a bit of cash lurking around, loss of cash somewhere.
Yeah.
So then that anxiety starts to go up, and it's very difficult not to push that out to your staff. Yeah. And it's absolutely the last thing you have to do. And the other thing you end up doing is you spend all your time with the staff who aren't necessarily, who are doing okay, and you kind of ignore then your A players because you think they're doing all right.
They're doing all right. Yeah, it's true.
And then you find they've gone.
Yeah.
Because you haven't been giving them any love. I am in the middle of writing a book about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. I'll look forward to reading it.
There's oh God, really epic ones. But also there are some things that I did really well. So you've just got to look at the whole picture. But certainly the most difficult thing is not wallowing in it.
Yeah.
Because remember I was talking about the emotional roller coaster of, whether you're a leader, whether you own the company, whether you're a manager, or even your self-leadership, your vision of yourself. The lows are never going to go away. There's going to be another COVID. There's going to be another something. There's going to be an Uber who hits your industry. There's going to be something technologically that's going to screw everything up on what you were doing just last week. That was like, ooh, and everyone's having a great old time with. The other thing as well, just on that, is that if you feel that you're getting stuck in that a little bit, and as business owners we can sometimes, give your second in charge permission to give you a nudge. Someone you trust, unlikely to be your partner at home, but someone you might trust in the industry or a really good friend, to basically steal your credit card, book you in somewhere and just say you need to get out of here for 2 or 3 days or a week.
But if you've given people permission, I always just say, no, I've got to give myself an uppercut or give myself an attitude readjustment. I let myself wallow, but not for too long. But it depends on how self-aware you are in the situation, right?
Yeah. Well, I remember after the GFC, I was flying high. I just put out my business partner at the time, and I literally phoned Telstra to say, oh, I think there's something wrong with the phone. I literally phoned them. Because when people are laying people off, they do not do team building. I could have just shut the doors. Anyway, and all of a sudden I'd always been successful, and I just took it so personally. This is all about me now, and that's another thing that business owners tend to do. We kind of identify ourselves too closely with the business. Very, very dangerous. But I realised I had to find something else, and I went to a lot of different. I've always done a bit of personal development kind of stuff and a bit of awareness. I heard a really great new word for that, by the way, the other day. Personal expansion rather than.
Oh, nice. I like that.
That's how much nicer is that? And I heard someone just say, you know, the Rupert Murdochs, the Bransons, the Trumps, all those people, they also get stuff that goes wrong too, often humiliatingly in public. They have, you know, husbands or wives who might leave them, daughters who put nude photos up on the internet. They, you know, their best friend gets cancer. They go through all those same things. Their businesses go up and down. They hurt just as much, but they have ability to get back up quicker.
Yeah.
It's just the ability to get back up quicker and be able to be productive during that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely right. Resilience is so important.
Oh, resilience.
So, I mean, you and I could clearly talk all day. I think that's obvious already. But we're almost out of time. But before I let you go, you have just sold and bought a new property.
Yes.
What was the experience like, and what can you share with our real estate agents out there watching?
Okay, so I had a place. So I had a place in Surrey Hills, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, security car park. There's no way this place was not going to sell. And I've been there for 15 years, so I knew all the local people. And when I bought it, and I actually ended up buying it off the landlord, but different story. So I had a couple of them come in and pitch, and I ended up picking one because I thought they would have the most share in terms of their try and sell to and beyond their own region, but other people who might buy it as an investment property or whatever.
Yeah.
The other thing I said to them was, seriously, I could put a for sale sign out myself and this will sell and I will get X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
I said, you don't have to be good at it. And I said, so I will pay you a little bit less commission up to that rate.
Yeah.
But 10% for every dollar you get over it.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's even, you know, but that was all contracted.
Well, some people, yeah, some agents absolutely work that way, particularly in a rising market like we've just come out of.
Yeah, well, it was always going to sell. It was just for how good a price. And so I wanted to incentivize someone rather than just have the hammer go down. And I'm about sales and marketing. You know, that's a lot of my thing. So how am I going to motivate someone to do that? And that was pretty good. I was then going to move up to Queensland for a little while and then, you know, ended up COVID, got locked in again. So I went and found a place. I was just hanging out down at Clovelly. And then 4 months later, I went to get back into the market and I could not believe how much dollars I had lost, buying power. Like I was, you know, easily 10%, 15%.
Yeah.
So everything I was looking at was all of a sudden so much more. Very hard, the price that people put. I lost a lot of money. Not a lot of money, sorry. I wasted money by getting contracts looked at and all that kind of thing because the price that people were saying than what it actually went for. To be honest with you, I got really annoyed with that. In fact, so annoyed I went and got a buyer's agent who I kind of knew, and they were just great. Got on really well with them. They then worked with all the agents and I would just get a real price. So and, you know, I ended up buying where I am, off market, and I looked at it at 11:45 and I owned it by 4 p.m.
Nice.
So I had everything all lined up, had the checkbook there. Now I know some other people who've used agents, buyer's agents, and haven't had such great success, but I was actually getting a bit scared of being able to get into the market, and that wasn't a good place to be, you know, and I'm single. So that was, you're kind of going through it emotionally.
I think that's a lesson to all agents actually is because we do it every single day, right? So
yeah,
it comes out of it. But for people, particularly if you are single or if you've got a young family and you're worried you're not going to be able to, you know, get that roof over your family's head, it does get very stressful and very emotional.
Yeah, and I think that there's something in there about whether it's a buyer's agent or whether it's an agent or whether it's, you know, making great relationships with the real estate agents, or the real estate agents making good relationships with the people, is, you know, just really look at them when they walk in. Ask a couple of questions. Like I used to always wear, I've got this pink sparkly kind of a cap. And like the reason why I wore it in as the buyer was I wanted to be remembered by all the agents. That was when I was going as my own or with the buyer's agent.
Yeah.
And I think that the agents need to do the same thing in return.
Yeah.
So that I will always make sure I go back and have a second or a third look at that agent's property over that agent's property, because I just trust and know them more. And now, while things are maybe a little bit quieter, there's a little bit of nervousness out there, and not just doing a phone call. You know, don't just do the phone call, just send a message and say, hey, I'm in the area. Do you fancy going for a coffee or something? You know, like, especially when people are all locked in, or they don't have to say yes, but it's about just showing, I just want to make sure that you're all settled and you're all good. And
it's about relationships.
It's about the relationships, because if they're buying, they've got other friends. Other friends and other friends who are all buying.
But agents focus on the vendors because they're the ones who pay the commission. And so that's a challenge. We do need to remember that the buyers become the vendors.
Especially now while you've got the time. I can understand it when you're busy.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just another marketing thing to do. But if you remember that someone was particularly nervous, or they're on their own, or they had kids, a single mum or something like that, that's, you know, just that extra bit of loving, they'll talk about that. And then you're so regional. You're like, it's all happening in that suburb. They want that suburb. The more you can be the person that they're talking about outside the school gates, you want to be that person and want to be spoken about with love and how you help them.
It's all about relationships, people.
All about relationships.
On that note, thank you so much. If people want to get in touch with you, because you are speaking on leadership, on sales, on marketing, on all kinds of things that are very relevant to a lot of our audience, where will they find you?
You can find me just at www.leonawatson.com. Pretty straightforward. And it's just Leona at leonawatson.com. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn. Come and say, just come and say hello. Come and say hello. Let's build a relationship, you know. Don't have to buy now. Let's just
Exactly.
Let's just chat, you know, always up for a good chat.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks so much for your time. It's been lovely reconnecting.
Thank you. Thanks, Leanne.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Courageous Conversations, with thanks to connectnow.com.au. Don't forget to get access to all of Elite Agency's premium resources, including a detailed episode guide for this podcast. Visit joineliteagent.com.